a lot about magical recently.
There's going to be some penetration lessons learned that we're going to be applying to a few items here, but it's not
Physical
going to be
OP?
such a widespread thing because
Oh, God.
physical and magical damage is applied very differently in many different scenarios.
Sure.
And as Paul mentioned at the beginning of the day, we'll be looking to add some new items and looking to breathe new life into items that people previously have seen as unviable and possibly nerf some of the absolute top of the meta items as well.
But they're nerfing Heartseeker.
Okay,
Bottom
let's go
up,
for it.
top down.
We'll start things off with a brand new item in the game, Caduceus Shield. Did I say that right? Caduceus?
Caduceus?
Caduceus.
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 So Caduceus is probably more proper, but no one's going to say that because
Okay.
that's not how we say
So this
the
new
words.
shield coming to the game that they like to put words in that just make it tricky all the time is going to cost 2,500 gold. It's 30 physical power, 35 physical protection, 35 magical protection, 100 health.
So that'll
and have
be-
an aura. The aura reads, allied gods within 70 units of you have their healing increased by 10%. If you have taken or dealt damage in the last 5 seconds, their healing is increased by an additional 15%. This aura does not stack with Rod of Asclepius. It's physical Rod of Asclepius, though.
Yay!
we did it.
People have been asking for this for a long time. You can also
Wow.
build this to buff other gods' healing.
Right.
It's not just yours, so you can use this as
Right.
an item, or you can use this on Guan Yu, perhaps the premier physical healer. Horus. as
That's
well.
who I thought of right away, Guan
So
Yu.
that's it. That's one of the new items for this. And we've also got another new Cursed Blade. Toxic Blade and Witchblade have now build off of Cursed Blade, allowing players to smoothly transition into these items with stats they are going for. And that's going to cost 1,250 gold, have 75 health, 10% attack speed, and 5% movement speed in this. And that's going to have Witchblade and Toxic Blade in there. That's
Yes,
really nice.
exactly.
Cool.
It's going to make those items just. A lot of people didn't like itemizing into those because they felt like the support versus aggressive split within this tree didn't feel right. So now there really is a tier 2 to
Tier 2.
I-
help
I agree
signify
with
the
that.
direction you're going. Yeah.
I'm frustrated with that because I kind of like to sit at that tier 2 and go, which one am I going to
yeah.
get?
No,
Which
I
one
know.
is
We've
where?
all felt it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that wing blade, but
Yeah, the Wingblade sometimes. Relic Dagger is really useful too.
oh yeah.
Gladiator's Shield next up, though. Bit of discussion about this one. Rework the passive from only triggering once per ability.
No, let's.
It will
only
still
triggering
proper
ones,
proper text. So it right now in live, I hit 3 gods
Yep.
and I heal 3 times
Yep.
for the amount listed.
Well, that's not going to
So
happen.
once per god per ability is what that text is.
I knew what it
Right.
meant. It just didn't read that way.
Yeah.
To subsequent heal. So the first person you hit with an ability, you'll get the full heal off Gladiator Shield. Additional people hit by this. Subsequent heals after the first from a single ability only heal for 50%.
Right.
So a bit more, less sustained in this. King Garth is going to be affected by this. Right.
So Gladiator Shield has had certain gods who can use it especially well, especially when hitting multiple targets. So now those gods are going to get reduced healing in those situations. It's not going. This change is not going to affect the 1v1 solo lane scenario.
Right.
Correct.
Because you're only hitting one target most
Sure.
of the time. But if you are hitting multiple targets, you won't be healing as much as you did last season.
So team fights, it won't give you as much sustain.
Correct.
That's what we're really talking about here. Next up after that is Void Shield. We're going to see an increased physical protection on this. And we've also been reworking the passive. It used to be enemy gods within 55 units if you have their physical protection reduced by 20. Instead, it's going to be enemy gods within 55 units if you have their physical protection reduced by 15%.
Yeah, this is
So it's
basically
percentage now rather than flat.
Yeah, this is basically the Void Stone change, just for warriors instead. Warriors could often build this and just
Achieving
be very
it
hard to
from
deal with.
newest.
In most cases, it will be a nerf.
Next up is Spiked Shield.
Dude, the
We're gonna be
Ymir,
reworking
though.
the passive of this. It was reduces physical protection from 55 to 8. Is now 55 units by 8. It's going to now reduce the physical protection of enemies within 55 units by 5%. Part of the same tree. Makes sense.
Tier 2.
Silver Branch Bow increased the power provided from the passive of this to make this a little bit more attractive. It's going to go up to 1.5. Executioner is decreased passive physical protection reduction per stack. Wow, we nerfed Executioner.
Really?
When did that's been like been buffed? I think it got buffed in like 3 and
It
4.
Really?
buffed because the hunter class as a whole, we wanted to make sure felt strong.
Now we don't care about it.
They've been doing pretty well, and we expect going into the next season that with the way lanes are positioning, they'll continue to do that. So we're doing a small nerf here just to fit in line with the way
What's
we're
next,
doing
Heartseeker?
penetration across the board.
Makes sense. Warrior's Bane also on this list. Decreased passive percent physical protection reduction.
That's
It's
the
gonna
tier
be
2 of Titan's
Redu-
Bane.
Decreased, it said there, yeah, just to make sure.
Dude!
Bane, and then Titan's Bane, we're going to also be decreasing the base physical protection reduction. and decreasing the max physical protection reduction. So it's going to take a bit of a knock to the penetration of the physicals here. You can't just catch everything from just this one item then.
Right.
Same sort of thing. Hydra's Lament, decreased additional damage after basic attacks. I think it's going from 50% to around 40% for a change there. Poison Star is going to have an increased physical power element added to this, just to give it a little bit more potency in terms of 10 extra power. Wind Demon, we're going to increase the amount of attack speed on this item a little bit to make that a bit more attractive. Malice is now going to have 10% CDR added to it. Interesting. Why?
It's the kind of like crit ability user item where you want
Yeah.
reduction. Just make sure that it's baseline functionality when you're not utilizing the passive. It's still a
Yay.
passive, it still makes it item worthwhile to
Okay,
purchase.
I can see the attractiveness of it. But if you're going to use an ability to get the passive anyway, then
Yes.
you're going to want this. Soul Eater is the final thing I've got on the physical list so far. When this item evolves, it now provides an additional 5% lifesteal in addition to the physical power and the ability lifesteal.
Wow.
Ooh, bunch of changes there. So the exciting stuff, I mean, it's all exciting, but the most notable things that we didn't talk about.
Seeker
Silver
save.
Branch Bow getting a pretty
Better
interesting
be.
buff for the passive. So that could be a potentially large power buff, and that item already provides quite a combination of stats. So we expect to see some more hunters picking that up. Hydra's Lament nerf, that is the kind of key assassin nerf for the whole patch. A lot of our assassins who are overperforming right now, and even some warriors
And
playing as junglers, Achilles, who's getting his own nerf, but they tend to use this item extremely effectively. So this is effectively the Susanoo, Achilles, Thanatos nerf for the update. You saw a bunch of buffs to some crit items that aren't used as often, which should be good for hunters as well as certain assassins. And yeah, so we want to make sure that crit becomes more viable option. It really has, feel like no one's built crit like all year. It's
With
pretty
Fail
rare.
Nots
I don't-
level, there's- you see
Fail
that
Nots
I don't really go
But even
crit.
that fell out of favor
High
relatively
res.
quickly after
Remove
Dragon
Seeker.
came out.
Support to make fail not worthwhile, and stuff like Wind Demon is like the stat.
Yo,
that you really
imagine-
want for that.
And
Yeah,
for a lot
so-
of these gods, they may not use Fail Not's passive
Yeah.
that well. So.
Hunters tend to be one of some of the hardest classes to get build diversity in because people kind of find working builds and go for it. This is our attempt to bring some other items into the mix. And of course, as we go forward with the new season, we didn't want to adjust like things
They
like
did that with
Transcendence
Code and
and
Bow.
Devourer's Gauntlets with the new map.
Right.
So we want to see how hunters are playing out on the new map first, and then we'll look into adjusting those in future patches.
Okay, good to know for you all at home then. Masks is the final thing I've got in terms of items for this patch to go over. We're going to start off
Okay.
with Lono's Mask. It's going to have decreased damage dealt, decreased healing done. That's the two things that are going to be on here.
Yeah, so the wording's there is a little bit weird, right? Because
Yeah.
it's decrease the reduction of damage dealt from
I should
negative
have written that
25% to
Yeah.
negative 20.
So it's buffed.
Yes,
buffed.
it's,
It looks
it's
like
a
a nerf.
stronger
Looks like
item
nerfs.
for
They're
these
buffs,
changes.
right?
Yes, they're
So
buffs.
Lono's Mask was nerfed because of some interesting applications, but now we're trying to walk that back a little bit, make sure it has a place in the meta. The masks have all fallen off, so these are generally buffs. Well, Lono's Mask is a buff, but Rangda's Mask is a change due to penetrations.
Stop jumping ahead and Fighter's Mask. We're on to next.
Why?
Thank you very
Yeah, Fighter's Mask is just tier 2 of Rangda's Mask. I like to talk about those as one discussion,
much.
New man.
The stuff that we're
I think
going
when
through.
you go
Okay.
all into those side tangents, we get confused.
I go into side tangents.
Yeah, Hindi man.
Okay, let's go on the real patch note show. So Lono's Mask we've already discussed. Fighter's Mask, remove 10 penetration, increase physical power, increase magical power. Rangdal's Mask, remove 15 penetration, increase physical power, increase magical power.
There
God
you
balance, Odin. Oh no.
No, don't go
Yeah,
that far.
don't play games with me, sunshine.
I'm sorry.
Say
So
I.
Rangdas and Fighters together are losing their flat pen because part of our pass with Magical, we didn't want this to be like aha, we got you. We're going to buy too much flat pen anyway. And same for Guardians. So this is losing their flat pen and instead just gaining more power. Of course, when you buy the Fighters or the final Rangdas, you'll get that power or that damage percent increase, which is still
Works
pretty,
well with power.
which works really well with power, right? That's very interesting. So, but we're just avoiding this penetration because this would break down some of our other changes in the patch.
So a little touch towards these masks to just try and make them a little bit more attractive at the same time as adjust based on the penetration change.
Correct.
I don't think
Makes a
I've
lot of
ever
sense.
built a
See how
mask.
quick that was?
Thank you.
See how long it took him?
I'm sorry.
Don't try and talk to me about who takes longer.
Leave it to
Goodness me.